Let's go back in time to point from a million years ago. Back then, life on Earth was very different than it is today. There were no cars, computers, or even pizza. And if you were one of the few humans alive at the time, your life would be full of danger. So let us talk about what life was like to point from a million years ago and how people survived back then. But before we do that, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell if you have already so, that you never miss an episode. Also, stick around until the end of the video to learn about our new project. We're super excited about it, and we know you're gonna love it too. Life on Earth to point from a million years ago was characterized by massive ecological and geological transformations. The planet was experiencing significant shifts in its climate, geography, and biodiversity, creating both challenges and opportunities for the organisms that inhabited it. Here are some of the key aspects of life on Earth to point from a million years ago. The Pleistocene epoch. This time period is significant because it marks the beginning of the most recent ice age. During this epoch, the Earth's climate oscillated between glacial periods with massive ice sheets and warmer, interglacial periods. This fluctuation had profound effects on the distribution and abundance of plant and animal species. Megafauna. The Pleistocene was a time when large mammals known as megafauna flourished. These included species like woolly mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths, and numerous other large herbivores and carnivores. These animals adapted to the cold climate and played crucial roles in their respective ecosystems. Early humans. To point from a million years ago, the genus Homo emerged in Africa. Homo habilis, one of the earliest species, had a larger brain and more sophisticated tool-making abilities compared to their predecessors, the Australopithecus. This was a pivotal moment in the story of human evolution as these early humans began to use tools more extensively, hunt animals, and live in social groups. Volcanoes. Volcanic activity was significant during this period, with major eruptions occurring in places like Mount Toba in Indonesia. The eruption of Mount Toba is particularly famous for its potential impact on human evolution. The massive amount of ash and gas released may have caused a global cooling effect, posing challenges for early humans. Hibernation. Hibernation was an adaptive strategy employed by many animals during the colder parts of the Pleistocene. Animals such as ground squirrels, hedgehogs, and some birds would enter a state of inactivity during winter to conserve energy when food was scarce and temperatures were low. Plant adaptations. Plants had various adaptations to cope with the cold and dry conditions of the Pleistocene. Some developed mechanisms to store water, such as the famous cacti. Others grew thick, waxy coatings on their leaves to reduce water loss through transpiration. Some plants went into a state of dormancy during cold periods, while others produced antifreeze compounds to protect their cells from freezing. So now that we have a good understanding of what the world was like to point from a million years ago, let's look how humans survived back then. Humans to point from a million years ago were part of the genus Homo. The most well-known species from this time is Homo habilis, meaning handy man in Latin. They lived in Africa and had a number of characteristics that helped them survive in the harsh environment of the time. Here are some of the ways that humans survived to point from a million years ago. Using tools. The use of tools was a defining characteristic of early humans. Homo habilis was among the first hominins to create and use tools on a regular basis. They used simple tools made of stone, wood, and bone for tasks such as cutting, chopping, and scraping. These tools allowed them to process food more efficiently, defend themselves against predators, and cut through tough vines and underbrush. The ability to use tools provided a significant advantage for early humans in their struggle for survival. Hunting and gathering. Early humans were hunter-gatherers, which means they obtained their food by hunting animals and gathering plants and fruits. They hunted small to medium-sized animals, such as antelopes, baboons, and small reptiles. They likely used spears and other simple weapons to capture their prey. Gathering wild fruits, nuts, and tubers was also an important part of their diet. This required knowledge of the local plants and an understanding of which ones were safe to consume. Living in groups. Living in groups or clans was essential for the survival of early humans. These groups consisted of related families and individuals who cooperated to hunt, gather food, care for the sick, and defend themselves against predators. Group living allowed them to take on larger prey, share resources, and protect the young and weak members of the community. It also provided a social structure that helped transmit knowledge and skills from one generation to the next. Fire use. The use of fire was another important factor in the survival of early humans. Fire provided warmth during the cold Pleistocene nights, helped drive away predators, and could be used to cook food, making it safer to eat and easier to digest. While there is some debate about whether Homo habilis used fire regularly, the evidence suggests that they knew how to use fire when necessary. Adaptability. Finally, the ability to adapt to changing conditions was crucial for the survival of early humans. They faced a constantly changing environment with fluctuating temperatures, droughts, and the emergence of new animal species. Their ability to adjust their hunting and gathering strategies, as well as their social organization, allowed them to persist despite the challenges they encountered. In conclusion, life to point from million years ago was a challenging but dynamic process. Significant changes in the environment and the emergence of new species shaped the world in profound ways. For early humans, survival was a continuous struggle, but their adaptability, intelligence, and social nature allowed them to endure. These early hominins laid the foundation for the future of humanity, setting the stage for the advancements that would come in the following millennia. Now it's time to ask you a question. Did you learn something new in this video? Let us know your thoughts and any comments you might have. Also, make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe either if you haven't already. And finally, stick around to watch one of these videos, which we think you'll enjoy. See you next time.